Thank you for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you.
Overall, I want it to be free flowing, but
Okay.
really this is an opportunity for you to share and talk about what's important for you, your challenges, your goals,
Perfect.
and whatever you want people within the Prescott-Russell region and also Casselman to understand. To start us off, I want to kind of introduce you to anybody who doesn't know who you are. So
Okay.
you are the mayor of Casselman.
Yes, I am.
And can you run us through that experience, how you became mayor, your journey into politics?
It's real. I don't even know where it started. I think I was born a person with a mission to do good in the world. And I think I just grew up that way. And in the school board, working with kids, I'm a very strong advocate for people. And that's really what I based my whole career on my life. Like I never went for money. I never went for recognition, validation, none of that. I really enjoy working on the front lines, on the ground with people, and truly understanding their needs and advocating for them. And I've done that all my life with dogs, animals, stray animals, picking up worms on the road. Even that's where it starts. It's an ethical mindset. I practice ethics and I read them a lot because I want to be an ethical leader. And I have been all my life to the best of my abilities. I mean, this is me saying this. It doesn't mean that it is what it is. This is my perspective of myself and my journey. So I feel municipal politics is the front line. It is being on the ground with the people. So I find it beautiful that now I'm in a position in Casselman where I could truly advocate for the people of Casselman and take away work to take away the barriers of arguing with, different groups. They want different things. And that's what causes friction and conflict. I really want to tear down defenses and make people feel safe, knowing that I'm really there for them. I'm not here for me. I'm an advocate and I fight for what's right. So if people tell me what they need, then it's my position, my job, to find a way to do that through bylaws and rules and policy.
And how did you come to Casselman?
I came from Orleans. I was born in Etobicoke, Toronto. Then we went to Montreal. Then we went to Edmonton, which was amazing. We go hiking in the mountains of Jasper. That's what I named my first son after, Jasper. And and right by the West Edmonton Mall. I loved Edmonton. And then we moved to Orleans. And then when I was 12, we moved to Casselman. So it was like so hard to adjust to Casselman because when I was young, I would just go to the mall. We'd walk to the park. There was everything, everywhere that we could do. We'd go to the Oasis and go swimming at the wave pool, have banana splits. And then we moved to Casselman, and it was so strange because I'd take a 40-minute bus ride to the English school, and, it's bad. I used to smoke back then. There was a smoking section and I'd be looking and there's like cows everywhere. So it's just very different from Orleans. A very, very different mentality. And then that's kind of how I got here. So I moved here when I was 12. I was in grade 6. Yeah. And here I am. And then Dennis and I moved to Ottawa. My husband, because I couldn't handle driving anymore. I was getting a little frustrated behind the wheel. So we moved to Ottawa, so that I could take the bus and just stop driving. It's long driving from Casselman to Canada every day. It's very frustrating because it's slow, it's long, and in the winter, it makes you so angry. So I had a little bit of road rage. So we had to, it's long. So I really feel for the people in Casselman about that too, because there is a lot of commuting. So something that I'm wondering about is how could we help? I want to get more information out about the 417 bus line and the Zuk bus line and find out how they're helping people, and give them better access to information, because the services are out there. It's just, how do you find them? Where do you go? So that's what I want to work on. And if that's an issue, because I know some people that I know, they hate driving. They're very uncomfortable driving, but they have no other option but to drive. So they're kind of at risk driving. And I feel like it's my responsibility to help protect them and their safety. So really trying to push more driving. There's no taxi service in Casselman either. So, Uber, how could we fix that? Because right now on New Year's, I called a taxi to drive me home because I don't drink and drive. We ended up walking. But there was nobody who could come get us. So then what about our youth who are starting to drink and then they're just going to drive or they're going to drive and then people are walking and it causes accidents. So that's another thing that I want to focus on. Sorry, I'm just kind of scattered everywhere.
No, that's fine.
I have so many ideas. And I was talking to our communication economic director this morning. Mireille is amazing. She's a visionary, and we were talking about my vision for Casselman. And I've spoken to all the council members and all the staff, and I really want one vision of Casselman moving forward. And it's not my vision. It's our vision based on our door-to-door campaigns, based on everything that all the other councillors know about the past up to the present and leading into the future, the staff's goals. Because if everybody has a buy-in, then it's going to be more cohesive. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. And I feel like we have a good solid ground. I've spoken to all the councillors except for one because she's on vacation. And they see my vision because it incorporates their vision. And, I think the staff are on board with it. So now it's trying to take all those ideas and put it into one cohesive action. So that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's how I got to Casselman. And here I am now. That was the whole journey right there.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely sense your passion for advocacy.
Yes.
And I can absolutely relate and empathize with the frustration of having to drive from Casselman to Canada.
Do you do that?
That is a slog. I just know the distance. And I'm not a fan of driving. I used to live in the city, so I was a big fan. There's a huge difference in sense of safety, especially during the wintertime when you're on a bus versus in a car, especially when you're driving for long distances.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can completely understand that.
Yeah, it's not fun at all. So that's something I'd like to look into, see how we could promote services.
Yeah. I know there's the Prescott Russell bus service, but so few people know about it, about going onto the website or downloading the app and using it, and of the different places where there's the stops.
Yeah.
Like it's something I'm starting to recognize a little bit more now, but
I know
almost nobody knows about it that I've ever spoken with.
No. And I don't even know how it works. So that's part of what I want to do is figure out how it works, and to help youth access it for employment. Could businesses learn about it, get bus tickets and encourage people to buy the tickets or help pay a portion of the ticket. Say, hey, if you come work here, you could use this bus line and it'll drop you off here and I'll help subsidize part of your tickets. So that's something going in my head. But I was I was suggested that we just wait on that a bit. So, but it is on my mind. How do we promote it? How do we use it? Will it last? Because I believe it's subsidized right now. So is it going to continue past that subsidy? How will it work? But it's great that we have a bus line.
Yeah, absolutely. And anything that revolves around helping youth, I'm 100% on board. Yeah. I grew up in Embrun.
Okay.
And so I know how little there is. And I've left and come back to the township, and there has been a lot of change, but there's not been a lot of change for youth activities or things for them to do or to be a part of. Yeah. And that suggestion of leveraging the public transportation system to help them gain employment, to gain independence, to gain resources and connections outside of the home is a great idea. And I can understand how you're being advocated to wait upon having a full vision in regards to the Casselman and the staff. But that is just a great idea on its own. Like that's something that anybody can definitely jump on to. And push for. I've talked to a couple people who are hosting events, and in that regards, I'm advocating for them to put the logo of the transit and maybe even a link to the transit, so that way anybody who wants to go to the event but doesn't have access to a vehicle, or if they want to drink at the event, they can. Yeah, exactly.
What a good idea. I never thought of that. And then, if you have taxi services available to pick you up at the stop and bring you home, right? So you don't have to reduce walking. Not that walking's bad, but, it's more rural. So it's a long walk compared to where the bus would drop you off. But I never even thought of that. That's a great idea. And hosting events close to the stops and make it our responsibility to let people know about it.
Yeah.
That's right here now.
Yeah.
That's going to go on my sheet. You should see my wall. It's like splashed with papers. And I have like a vision on each one. And then I go through it with everybody. And they must think I'm crazy sometimes. But I think they know that it's a good crazy. It's it's a passionate crazy. And it's going to come together in one idea. But I can't do it yet because I need more information from people, right? So, I mean, and talking to you and talking to as many people as I can to get different perspectives is very important to me. So, I mean, I'm not going to have my whole mandate, vision, and goal right away. It's going to take, a couple months. I'm hoping by the end of this week, I'll have a concrete idea that I could build upon, but I can't start doing anything until I have everybody's buy-in because it's not me.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm not the person making all the decisions. It's the people making the decisions. So it's a process. So in the spring, I'm planning on doing another door-to-door campaign. And if I could, I'd love to do it every year and just go talk to all the people again. And the staff and the council, they love it, that idea. So they even want to participate with me, which is so cool because we're all, we're a municipality who all staff and council care about the people and we're informed by the people. And then we all come back together and then staff knows what they can do with our resources and council has their vision and we're leading it. It's beautiful.
That's fantastic.
I don't know how we could go wrong with that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know if it's ever been done before as a municipality anywhere in the world, but I'm curious to see what it leads to. And, at the end of the day, my one thing that I will have by the end of my 4 years is a strong community. That's, a community where people are thriving. And I really want to bring mental health to the surface, reduce stigma around it, and make it a priority that people feel connected and not isolated. Because in these little communities growing up when you were young in Embrun and you're a young kid and there's bad things happening at home and you don't know where to go, it keeps me up at night. So if I could bring people together more so people have more of an opportunity to share, open up, and get services and supports, then I'd be very happy. So community cohesion is very important to me. And in order to have community cohesion, you also need a thriving environment because if your environment's dead, then how is anybody going to grow? So that's going to be my very solid base with the First Nations working group, hopefully, like I'll be working with them, the South Nation Conservation, really forming a strong base with reconciliation involved throughout, right? And really integrating that. And then from that, we build our community. And then with a strong, cohesive community, we build our buildings and our businesses around it. And it's just so beautiful. I see it.
Yes,
I see it all and I want it all. So, but first I need the people's hearts and goals to make sure that how we do it is reflective of their needs.
Mm-hmm.
So
I am so on board and want to help in every single way that I possibly
Really?
can. Yes.
I would love that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're very political and you have a lot of knowledge that I don't have. So I would very much like to tap into
I want exactly
your
what
knowledge.
you want, 100%, right?
Yeah.
So, so giving a platform for you to be able to share these ideas, tell people what's happening next, where you are in the process, whether it is also, like we were talking before, of giving other people the opportunity to have these conversations as well.
Yes.
Just anything, because I want your vision to come to fruition.
That would be great. And, and I'm not, I stepped up to the plate because I wanted to advocate for environment and people because it's important to me. And I'm not doing my mandate in a way where I'm going to guarantee that I'm reelected. And I know how bad that sounds. And it's not to say that I don't care about what people think. It's just, I want to do what's right. I want to take all kind of leveraging or manipulation or anything out. I want it to be clear that I can't be manipulated into things in order to get reelected. Because at the end of the day, I really always want to strive to do what's right for what the people want, even if it's a hard decision to make. I don't know how that's going to look or what it's going to be, but that's kind of the standard, ethical standard I've set for myself. And we'll see how it works.
Yeah.
So I don't mind making mistakes, and I don't mind doing a platform and saying what my thoughts are, and then finding out that it's not going to work, because I'm open to change. I'm open to bettering myself, learning different ways of approaching a situation. So it's not about taking, like, I don't see failure as a bad thing. I see it as a human thing, and I'm not afraid of it. So I'm okay with people seeing if I make mistakes, because if I do and I'm told, I'm going to learn and I'm going to try to better it. So I want to be as human and open as possible in this process and see where it leads me.
Amen.
We'll see what happens.
So what went into the decision to run, and what was your election process like?
Well, it was kind of surreal because I was working. I decided I wanted to be a counselor because I always want to get involved. That's just my nature. I always want to help out. And, I did as much as I could in the school board working with kids. And I felt, I needed to do something more. And then I wanted to get into the union of the school. And I did. But it wasn't like where I wanted to go. And then I thought, well, why not run for counselor of Casselman? And then I put my name. And then the more I was thinking about what I wanted to do, I was like, I think this is more like mayor material. So then I was like, okay, but I have no experience, right, in politics. I don't even know what politics means, to be honest with you. So I put my name. You have to take a risk. And then the campaign process was me working full time and campaigning on my spare time. So it was like, I don't even remember it, honestly. It's a blur. But I remember really enjoying myself and having fun, and taking a picture for my sign was a nightmare because I hate taking pictures. I hate video. I'm a very private person. I'm not a Facebook person really. And so all this interviews and it's all very surreal. It's very surreal to me. It's different. But taking my picture to put on my sign was like the worst experience of my life. I took a million selfies in the backyard and I don't know how. So anyways, it was so after I did that, I was like, if I could do that and put my face out everywhere, then I could do anything. So, it kind of broke the ice for me, and it was great. And people are so kind. I just love people. I just love people, People I didn't know would just come out and email me and just say the most beautiful things to me. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are. But, to hear that was so validating that I was doing something that was for the people and it's what they wanted. So that is actually what kept me going, to be honest with you. There was one day where I was like, oh, I can't do this. And, my philosophy is I set big goals for myself. And every day I wake up and I just do something every day. I don't think about it. I don't overwhelm myself with details. I just get up and I just do it until I'm tired, and then I go to bed. And then every day I wake up, if I'm discouraged, and I felt very discouraged that day, I still wake up and I just do something. But that day I was like, I don't think I have what it takes, because, I have a self-esteem. I have confidence. I'm human. Sometimes I feel like a failure. Sometimes I feel like I'm on top of the world. And that day I really felt like I was a piece of crap, failure. Like I just want to crawl under a rock, because self-doubt sets in when you start thinking about the bigger picture. Because I don't think about the bigger picture. I don't think about what's beyond this moment, because then it stresses people out, gives you anxiety. So I stay in the present. But then that day I was like projecting into the future, and I was like, God, can I do this? And then I got this email from this random guy telling me the most beautiful things about like how inspired he is and how happy he is about what my campaign goals are. And then that's all I needed for that day. And then I was good for the rest of the time, to be honest. And, it was really great. It was a great process, and I didn't really hear any negative feedback. I think the biggest question, the biggest challenge was my French in a Francophone community. And that's something I was talking to Mireille about. I just, that's my biggest puzzle piece right now. How do I do this? So that's what I'm going to work on. So if you have any ideas, that'd be great. And community people, if you have ideas, just email me, because I really need to know how to integrate culture in a vision, maintaining diversity and inclusion. It's very hard. I don't know what the answer. It's very philosophical. It's an ethical question. It's not a black and white question. So how do you do it? How do I approach this? So that's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Well, I know there's certain groups that get together to practice French. The entire point is you go to a library or something like that, or a cafe, and you chat as much as you can in French, and people are very cordial and want to help each other learn.
They do.
There's plenty of apps now for learning languages like Duolingo, or there was, I can't remember another one. Yeah, I can't remember, but there's plenty of them out there for sure when it comes to that. But I also find that people are kind of forgiving in this region.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially if your intentions are in the right place and they can sense that.
Yeah. Yeah. They are. And what could we do to help people learn French? Because we need French courses in Casselman. That's definitely something that I'd like to look into. Even French conversation skills or service skills, so that people who are English could learn enough French to get through servicing people, like at a restaurant or a store. And, I just don't know how to integrate Francophone into an overall vision. That's what I'm going to have to figure out for Casselman, But I don't have the answer. I have to talk to people first. I have to talk to the residents and see what they want, and work with that, and work with French groups and Indigenous groups. And, there's a whole bunch of new cultures coming into Casselman. And how do we ensure that people are feeling welcoming, to practice their culture in an overall structure of a Francophone framework? So.
Yeah, I can.
Just a little thing I have to figure out. Nothing big.
I can understand your desire to want to go and talk to people in that regards, especially since not everyone's used to or familiar with the idea of joining a committee, in which a lot of those conversations can take place of how do we integrate, especially if you have a diversity and inclusion committee or some element of a cultural committee, a Francophone committee, whatever it may be.
All right. Well, there we go. There's my answer. Thank you. We're actually having our council meeting tonight, and I'm going to talk about our committee, like the structure that I've developed in my mind. So I'm just going to add that little umbrella piece to it. That's great. That's what I'll do. And then they'll help inform that vision. Yeah,
it's one of the first steps for sure when it comes to the structure of municipal government. Committees is usually the first way in which councils and members get information. Yeah. And it's also an avenue for which you can show to people that you're also taking it seriously, even if somebody doesn't know about it or isn't interested in taking part in it. There's people within that committee that can then also be the touch point for people. And then beyond that, it's just events and doing what you're going to be doing, which is going to be amazing.
It's going to be so awesome. I'm planning a Francophone festival. Francophone Ontario Festival. It's going to be on the days that the school boards celebrate it. It's in my head. I'm going to put it on paper, but I want to create as many annual events as possible in my mandate that could continue on after I leave. So it'll be kind of like little recipe cards. So if anybody else who comes into office wants to do a certain event, I'll have it all laid out for them, and they could choose what they want to do. But it'd be great to get it so integrated into the community that the community just runs these events on their own. One that I'm planning right now with Interlude and the Coalition is I called it the March of the Roses. So I'm working with them to promote ending violence towards women and children, and men and elders. Everybody experiences violence. So when I went to the presentation for the White Ribbon campaign for the Polytechnic College massacre, they did this thing that like, I still get goosebumps when I think about it because it was so freaking beautiful. They had roses, white roses to represent every woman who died that got shot. And then they had purple roses to represent the women in Prescott Russell that were murdered from violence. And then there were 2 white roses to symbolize the children, which was like, it was just too much. And it was so powerful. So now I would love to plant rose bushes in one of our parks, and we'll have a march where everybody gets a rose of a color representing the people that they know that have been touched by violence. And we all march, you know, quietly, and we bring our roses to the rose bushes and we just leave them there. And then they could dry up, and then we could just put them in the river, and they could just, you know, it's just something beautiful. And these things need to be out in the open, and we need to have these conversations. It needs to be in our faces, because these uncomfortable subject matters are always kind of like swept under the rug because people don't know what to do about it. But there's nothing we can necessarily do. I mean, obviously there's systems in place to change it, but as a society, as a community, just talking about it and not being afraid to participate in the discomfort of it is all we could really do.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful artistic way of having that expression. There's a lot of symbolism behind it.
Yes.
And it makes me realize how creative and passionate you are. And
yeah, that's what I mean by crazy.
But it makes me wonder what your team is like, because I could see how these ideas are beautiful and symbolic and representative coming up very easily for you. But then what's the process for follow through? How do you gather people around, like, let's make this happen?
Well, the Casselman team is like a freaking force to be reckoned with. I swear, the council members are amazing. I couldn't ask for a better team, you know? I'm sure all teams are good. It's how you present your team and how you work together. You know, I could relate with some of the most difficult people in the world because I don't approach people with an expectation for their behavior or expect them to meet my needs in any way. I'm very, you know, I meet people where they're at and I'm comfortable with that, you know? And if something irks me about people, I'm like, okay, well, there's something about them that is probably like upsetting me because it's who I am that I'm not comfortable. So I look at myself to figure out what it is about me and I fix me. I don't try to change people. No?
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Sometimes I feel like an alien when I try to explain this process to other people.
Oh, you do that too?
100%.
So I'm not the only one. Because sometimes you feel very alone when you do things like that and then, you know, you take it for granted that you're like that. And when people don't do it, you're like, hey, wait a minute. No, people don't do that all the time.
Yeah.
So you have to remember that. Okay, so you do that.
Oh, yeah. The obstacle is the way kind of thing of where whenever somebody does something that makes me angry or frustrated, I take time to meditate on it and then basically find gratitude. I'm like, you are showing something within me that is an opportunity to learn and grow.
Yes.
This frustration, this friction, this anger is a sign that there's something in me that is afraid or worried.
Or feels threatened.
That I'm not communicating, that I'm not honoring and finding a proper outlet for. And then I'm relying on this other person for some strange reason.
Right? And this poor guy's just like, whoa, like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah.
Which makes people more angry when they do that because you're like, well, you don't, anyways.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess inherently is who I am. My team is just amazing because I accept them and I respect them for who they are, what they stand for. And, you know, doing my vision, you know, I have a binder full of ideas and I went through every single idea with every single one. And if there was one that they didn't like, I literally ripped the paper out of the book. I ripped it up. I threw it out because I'm not going to have anything that we're moving forward towards that people disagree with because there's no point in that. Like, I'm not here to tell you that this is what we're going to do and, you know, and then fight with you for 4 years. Like, I don't want that. That's too much stress. You know, nobody wants to fight all the time. Well, some people do, but, you know, they could meditate on that. So, you know, I feel like I have a pretty good cohesive team. The staff of Casselman are the most down to earth, visionary, loving people. And I appreciate them so much. Sometimes I feel like it's weird how the stars just aligned to have all these people with me at this one time. And I have this ability and position to do something so good with it. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to take that for granted. And I don't want to not take advantage of everything that I could to do the best for as many people as I could.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't stress me out. It's not pressure. It's not stress. It's not hard. It's what feeds my passion and my desire in the world. So it's just great. Yeah. So how do we move forward together? I'm still trying to figure that out because as a mayor, I'm not allowed to do administrative work, which was a big surprise to me. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that. That's where I'm at right now, honestly, because staff have so much to do and we don't have enough money to hire more staff. So it's basically a skeleton team using their souls and their passion and their love for their town to get through what they're doing, and I don't think people recognize that in the staff. No way. So they always get the crap.
Yep. That's another reason why I'm doing this is honestly, when I talked to all the members of the staff that I could when I was running, it's exactly what you're saying. They're deeply passionate and they're giving as much as they can. And then when I talk to people on the streets or at their homes, there's a huge gap between their perception and experience of staff versus what they actually do and the type of people that they are.
Exactly. Yeah. And they don't see, it's kind of like credibility, and I'm not comparing them at all to janitors, but it's that philosophy that you treat the janitor of the school just as good as the principal of the school. Like I've always done that. Like that's my, I always find those people and I rise those people up as much as I could. So the public works team is not valued because people don't see them representing anything than just fixing what they have to fix. And then when things aren't at their standards, they get upset at them because it's like it's their fault. But it's not. Like these people are people. They're human beings. They're passionate human beings that live in our community. They live in our Prescott-Russell area and they deeply, truly care, And in Casselman, I really want to have all of their visions integrated into my mandate as well. Because the more buy-in we have from people, the easier it is to just get things done. So I guess the way that I'm trying to do it is I'm trying to get as much buy-in from people so that people want to do the work. And if they don't, then I won't do it because why am I going to try to bang down the door? It doesn't make sense. It's a waste of time. So if out of 10 ideas that I have, there's only one that works and we all have a buy-in, then we'll do it. But one thing I won't do is keep piling projects on the staff. I want to let them take a breather. Just take a breath. You're safe. I want everybody to feel safe and that I have all their best intentions in my mind. I don't know if I answered your question or not.
there is no right or wrong answer.
I don't know if I finished it, but
this is an opportunity for you to share who you are, your vision, how you operate, why you do what you do. And you're doing that beautifully, honestly. And it's like, you're a beautiful person. And I'm very happy that we're having this conversation because I want other people to have this realization as well.
Right. That politics is people. And I think there's a huge disconnect between what people like, that we live in a democratic society, but I don't see it sometimes, Democracy sometimes is like the people in power imposing their will on what people want and directing people to do it. Yes, it's your mandate, but your mandate, any politician's mandate needs to be based on the people. And, I don't see a lot of I don't know, ability for people to express what they want. So how could you lead based on what the people want if you don't know what they want? So I really want to try to, and it is a philosophy, democracy. Any form of government is a philosophy because everybody has different perspectives of what that one thing is. And it's never the same perspective because we all come from different walks of life. So we're all very inherently different. So we can't all see the same thing. So how can I be the most democratic person, and not politician, but person ever?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my question.
Yeah.
So now you have to answer that. I'm joking.
Yeah. I got plenty of suggestions, but I'm very curious also as to when it comes to learning your roles and responsibility as mayor, when it comes to the relationship you now are building with the United Counties, because we live within a 2-tier municipal government, and then also with a province, you know, with our MPP. And if you've had any experience with our MP as well, what's that been like for you?
Amazing. You know, I literally see the world through rose-colored glasses, okay? People say you can't, but I do. And I have all my life, even through like very difficult life experiences. But, you know, I see the best. And the mayors are just so amazing. They're just a group of amazing men. They're all funny. They're so respectful. They're so down to earth, and they're so passionate about what they do. You know, I've never walked, I got a lot of people saying, you know, like it's like an old boys club. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But, you know, like I'll walk into it. And I remember telling my husband, I'm like, I'm going to my first meeting. Like what people were telling, I felt like I was being thrown to the wolves or something, you know, but I didn't feel that way. Like they're just funny guys. And I really enjoy working with them, and I look forward to going there. I met Francis, I met Stéphane. They're so passionate. You know, it's just a whole bunch of passionate people. And now we just need to work towards our goal, which is the official plan that we have in Prescott Russell, which is amazing. It's just, I love it. So we just keep working towards that. And as conflict arises, from outside, we work together to solve those issues together. But I feel that there's a lot of openness to solve problems and to have those conversations, you know? And I feel that they're very open-minded to solutions. So, I mean, how can we go wrong? I'm telling you, we're an amazing county. We're just, I have so much belief in Prescott Russell and each county and our unity together. You know, we're Ottawa's neighbors, and we're a good neighbor. We're good neighbors. So I think, yeah. I just keep rambling. I'm sorry.
No, it's not rambling.
I'm a rambler.
Well, can you speak about the official plan? You were saying that it's a fantastic plan for the county. And what about it resonates with you?
Well, Casselman's an urban policy area, so we have to focus a lot on like intensification, density. But the way it was outlined, it was very clear, you know, the type of economy we could get, that industrial, just, it just all comes together, and it makes sense. So I'm looking forward. We're going to do our strategic plan this year because I'm a planner. I like doing things based on a plan and a vision, and not just grasping, you know, so that I want to make sure it's cohesive in the future, so that my kids' don't have problems that I set out today for poor planning. I want to have a good planning structure. So, I mean, it does lay a good groundwork and a framework for that. So with our strategic plan, we'll develop our vision of our community, and then we're going to start our official plan, because all the counties need to be in conformity of that major official plan within the year. So that's going to be our goal. And I just can't wait to see what Casselman's going to look like, you know, what the businesses are going to be that we have. And, you know, my vision, like what I see in the future, and it's not like what I'm going to impose at all. Like, that's not what I'm saying. But my contribution to our overall vision when we all meet will be just a quaint little town, you know. I made a mood board for Casselman because I'm a dork. I love Canva. So I was looking at all the pictures for hours to find the perfect pictures that represent Casselman. So like I had a kid running in a forest with the birds, because we're going to have like the Le Sentier, like the boardwalk, the bird sanctuary. And then, you know, I had a woman, you know, naked holding a kid, you know, after birth, you know, plumper and, just natural, that you could just be just a woman, like, no pretense, no pressure to look a certain way. You just are who you are, and you're so maternal and beautiful, and you're going to continue that growth in our town, and we're going to support it. Sorry. It's too much.
It's so good. It's so good. Your artist heart is just falling down.
Oh my gosh. Sorry. And then, so then I had to add my little part of it, which is animals. I'm a huge animal advocate because even insects, like I have a little fruit fly in my office, and it's so annoying because when people come, it's always like around them, but I can't kill it. And now I feel bad for it because there's only one. I'm like, he's all alone. It's so bad. I just feel so much empathy and compassion. It just kills me sometimes. So I had to put a dog in my mood board so we could protect the most vulnerable things in our world. Babies, children, fruit flies, worms. Oh my God. My husband put fruit fly traps in our house. I threw them all out. I don't know how he lives with me. Anyway, so that's on my mood board. And, these stairs at the man, I know it's not inclusive like a businessman, but you know what? A businessman, it's all good. And he's just walking up those steps, and underneath are full of ideas and, not money symbols, but like leading to money. But to remember that business is based on a vision, on a soul. That it's not just money. It's not just growth and greed. It's an idea where you come to Casselman and we foster your dreams and your visions, and we work with you,
Yes.
So he's on my mood board, and I'm sorry to women, but it's hard to be inclusive all the time, but
yeah.
So I'm going to own that businessman guy. And what else I have on my mood board? I have, why am I drawing a blank? Oh, I added development to it. Mireille told me to add that, so I did it. So it's like a map with like people working with pencils, and it's like a little wooden house with, like subdivisions and things, that it's nothing's in stone, that we grow, that, we don't tell you you come in here, let's work together. For example, we have an archaeological site in Casselman by the dam, and there's caves where Indigenous people used to go to trade on the water, which is so freaking cool, and when people develop there, we need to make sure that we can't lose our history. We need to ensure that those rightful places in history are protected. So I really want to work with that, which is why that it's an open thing, that we have to be open-minded with developers and the municipality and the people to ensure that the environment is always at the front. Because with Bill 23 and strong mayors, the environment is going to take a shit kicking.
Yeah. And
it really freaks me out. I want to be a municipal advocate for the environment if the people are okay with it. Yeah. I have to get their permission. Yeah. I can't tell them that this is what we're going to do. But, people of Casselman, like, I'd really like that if we could do that, So I do have an environmental committee, and we'll do the French and the cultural diversity committee. What else is on my mood board? I can't remember. But then I had my vision board of what Casselman was. So I took all those ideas and I said, well, what do I want people to see when they come here? Like as a human being, just one person, not everybody as a community. So I made it green, and there's like a woman, like, old art, like Egyptian art holding a bird, it's so beautiful. And then there's some like a book on the ground, and what else is on there? There were birds, and an old picture of like a bridge and a building, but kind of like I put like a filter on it, so it's kind of greenish. And just history, nature, and then the title was Profite de ta vie, enjoy your life. So it's a place where people just come to Casselman and they just are who they are for whatever they are, and they're just there. And we're just all cohabitating together. And we don't need to fight for our language. We don't need to fight for our culture. We could just be together. I guess that would be multiculturalism.
Yeah.
And how do you do that and maintain the French Francophone culture? But that committee will help me figure that out to make sure, because that's a very important aspect in Casselman. So I have to make sure that it's respected and it's integrated in our community.
I can definitely sense your huge heart and your love for life and for people. So I can just imagine what it was like when you would go door to door and telling people that you want to represent them, and then they're just probably flooded with the joy that you.
They're beautiful. Like I left crying like at a place, and she just hugged me, and then we both started crying. I don't even know why we were crying, but it was just because we were talking about what we want and our goals, and then we didn't know what to say anymore. So so we just hugged. But people, they just want to be understood. That's it. And I understand people, and you don't have to be a certain person for me to understand you. It's all good. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. But
I could actually do the work too. So I'm not
yes.
Just, oh my God. Yeah.
So what's been your process for staying so afloat? If you care so much and you have so much passion and so many ideas and you're interacting with so many people, with somebody else, I would hear where they would start to feel a bit weighed down, or the anxiety of, the Strong Mayor Act or the environmental assessments and abilities being gutted, that is something in contrast with their vision, what they want to have happen, and that can weigh on them. But I sense a lot of motivation and joy and hope in you. Yes. So how do you keep yourself that balanced?
I think it's integrated through childhood. I've had challenges in my life, and I've had to overcome a lot of hardship. And when I was young, I actually consciously spoke to myself and made a decision that no matter what happens in my life, that I want to be happy. And as a kid, the only way that I felt happy was when I helped people, So then I guess that's like a very core thing that drives me, that helping people brings me joy. So as long as I'm doing that, I'm happy. And it's just integrated into who I am. And when the Strong Mayors comes out, or difficult things that come out, I don't see it as a threat. I see it as an opportunity for me to have to learn more and figure out where I stand within that and what I could do to help, knowing that I'm not going to change it, but in my life before I die, I could work towards doing something about it, And as long as I wake up every day and do that one thing and just go and keep going, then I don't think about it. I don't stress out about external things, because I don't let things that I can't control me. And it's a mind freak. It's a practice to be like that. It's hard. You probably do that too, right?
Yeah.
So it's a mental decision you have to make, that you don't want that to, and then you strive towards, and you find your strategies and ways to do it. I couldn't list all mine because I've actually never really truly thought about that and reflected on it, but I think I will. But another thing that really helps is family is very important to me. So my kids and my husband, we're very minimalists, very minimal. We're minimalists. Minimalistic. We're very minimalistic.
Yes.
Wow, say that like a tongue twister. Right? So we don't want more. We're not a person who, we don't need a bigger house. We don't, you know, my house kind of, doesn't look like trash, but I'm not a big decorator. I'm not a big collector of things, you know. Our life is really based on us and our joy and our contentment. And I have such a good relationship with my husband and my kids, and I'm very open and honest with them. And, you know, last week things started weighing on me because that self-doubt sets in sometimes, or you start thinking, you know, because I'm very much like in the moment. And then, you know, when you let your mind start going out, it weighs that, then it just hits me. Right. And so I go home and I get my pajamas, and then I go in my bed, and then I say, guys, I'm done. And then my kid comes in, he tucks in my feet, and then the other kid comes in, he brings me water. They know I love poutine, so Dennis will bring me poutine, and I just literally lie in bed like a slug. And they just take care of me all night. And then I'm like, I'm ready to go to bed. And then they come and they they just, you know, I let myself be taken care of by them.
That's so beautiful.
And then I have my dogs. I have my little chihuahua, and he's just there with me. So like I practice self-care, and I know when I've had enough what I need to do, and it's really just lie in bed and eat a lot of food. So that's and then the next day I wake up and I'm like, good to go.
I'm so happy we're having this conversation. I had no idea. Again, this is why I do this. You know, there's a big difference between just emailing somebody and having a call or a conversation about a specific topic in a township or something like that versus this is your time to share and open up and talk about you and your process and humanize the individual.
Yes.
And this is absolutely wonderful. And I'm in some way kind of jealous of Casselman for having you as
well, I hope the people feel that way too. So,
but at least I can have you as part of the leadership in the United Counties. So there's like,
that's true. That's true. Yeah. And the United Counties, I think they're open to it. I'm already starting to like talk to some of them and see how we could work together to have, you know, like my March of the Roses. It'd be really cool if we did it as a county, or if every county had a certain thing they represented, you know, and that kind of, not to be like slutty about like this nice thing, but like for tourism too, it's good for tourism, you know, and I'm not doing this for tourism. I'm just saying that I'm so proud of it that I want people from the outside to come and see it and be part of it and be inspired by it and take it somewhere and do it there, you know? So, you know, I hope Casselman could be such a good leader in all these social causes and show the world that you could humanize politics, right? And you could bring it down to its smallest form, which is just people wanting to be happy, right? Yes.
Yes. That's you're taking the words right out of my mouth. So,
yeah.
Well, with the experience that you have, like, what was the transition like from the work that you used to do to the work that you're doing now, and learning the different formalities and the processes?
Okay, the worst part for me is my my attire, getting dressed. Yeah, I literally had to take courses from people at work. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do I wear? How do I dress? You know, because when I worked at the school board, I was like Mr. Rogers. I actually imposed a suit on myself, like a uniform. I bought 5 of the same shirts, 5 of the same pants, and I literally went through that because I cannot handle thinking about what I wanted to wear every day because it's too much thought. And then every day I wake up, I'm like, oh, I feel fat. You know, so like then I feel self-conscious, and then I have to dress up, but I don't have the right. And then you never have anything to wear. And I'm sure a lot of women could relate with me. We never have enough clothes to wear. Anyway, so I said, forget it. I'm just going to wear the same suit, the same thing every day. And so I wanted to do that here in Casselman, but it doesn't really look good if I have to present Casselman, that she's always wearing the same clothes. So,
it's consistency.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought, right? Anyways, I still might think about it because I just hate worrying about what I'm going to wear every time I go somewhere. It's too much stress in my brain. I want to wake up and focus on what I need to do, right? Not on what I look like and what I want to project. I find it's, what's the word? Like, it's not necessary, but it's important to other people.
From what you're talking about, the meaning behind it, in that you want to present yourself in a consistent way and demonstrate that I'm just dressing as a way of respect and consistency. And it's not about me trying to show that I look better than you or having this competition of fashion. And it's really wanting the focus to be on the person and the experience. So that way, when they see you, there's a greater sense of familiarity for whether they see you that day or the other day. Right. You're going to present in a similar fashion, and that's going to align as well with your invitation to get them to open up and feel comfortable with you.
And it's awful because I already started doing it at the United Counties at the council meetings. I wear the same suit every day because I cannot worry about my suit. I can't go there. So if people wonder why I always look the same, it's a conscious decision. I do have clothes.
Yes.
Okay? I just cannot be bothered to worry about what I'm going to wear. So, I think having to, working on the ground with kids, and, I worked in group homes, foster care. And, I love that work. And I want to continue working in that. I will eventually, once I get a handle on what I'm doing. Hopefully I'll be able to do that part-time again. But to bring it down to the basic level and the basic human needs is something I never want to disconnect from. And so having to come in and project myself as like a director, it's just not my mindset. I'm a worker, and the concept of having to delegate work and tell people what to do and like, this is my will, is not me. So that is the biggest thing that I've had to adapt to and try to find a way to stay true to who I am, but also provide the leadership that people need, but also expect them to kind of meet me halfway and be like, listen, I'm leading you, but you need to tell me where to lead you to because I have a vision, I have a goal, but it needs to be something that you're willing to walk with me, not carrying me down the desert in those things, like that's not me. I'd be the one carrying like the tired staff on top and be like, hey guys, let's go, let's switch, like that's my philosophy. So it's a very different philosophy from the way that I used to work to the way I'm expected to work now. And so I think that's the biggest thing that I've been trying to learn, but I'm almost there.
That's such a humanitarian.
Yes, yes, I'm very humanitarian. So, well, I've never labeled myself as that. I just said that now. This is the first time I said that. I never thought of that. Yep. And
so, in your grander vision, so that way we can get more buy-in, do you want to go into some of the other things that you haven't talked about yet of what you want to move towards and get people's input on and how they can give that input? Like how do you want people to reach out to you or anything like that?
I have so much that I want to do. I did hours and hours of research and I found this amazing template and it has 6 categories. So land development, economic development, human development, social development, cultural development, and physical development. And within those categories, they're broken up, right? And so I broke those up and I developed goals and visions in each category to make sure that it's a comprehensive approach so that at the end of my 4-year term, I will have impacted each of those important parts of our municipality. So, because sometimes like people will get so focused on one and like we want more development, but then the community's pushed aside. So I want to make sure I'm very community focused that I don't push aside development, right? I don't want to swing the pendulum the other way completely. to extremes, which is what happens in society all the time. It goes from one extreme to another extreme, and then it slowly comes down to a balance. But that's over the course of 100 years. So I don't want to contribute to an extreme. So I want to ensure that I have a very balanced approach to my vision. And so today what I was working on is I created like a color wheel, and they each have, 2 parts. And so I was talking to Mireille, and we decided, so I'm going to come up with a mission. I'm going to have my one vision in the center, and then each category is going to I'm looking around like I see it.
No,
Are you following? Do you see it? Do you see it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so each category will have its its mission, and then inside the operational goals on how we're going to get there. So I have all that written out. I have all the vision. I have all the mission. I have everything based on my door-to-door campaign that I did. I kept all the notes that all the people told me, the councils, what they've told me about what they've heard people. I've integrated as much information as I could creating this, including staff, what the projects that they were working on with the previous mandate. I wanted to maintain all those projects and reflect them into the future as well. Because I find like after mandates, things just end and they fizzle out. I don't want that to happen, because like the previous council started things that were important to them, and I want to continue that as much as possible. So I tried to reflect that as much as possible as well. And so that's where I'm at. So I'm hoping by Friday I will have the concrete vision and mission, so that when we start our strategic planning and then we start involving the community a lot, that we see if their visions are in line with this, and if not, how we're going to change it to reflect what their needs are. So to say what I have on those papers right now, I could, but it's not to say that this is going to happen, right? Because I'm not here to enforce what I want. It's really just what I think from what I've heard. And then the strategic plan will make it more concrete. But, for the physical structure of Casselman, a lot of things that the main thing that we need to work on is our wastewater and our water structure. So our CAO, Eve, he's on that file. He's on that project. And he is like an amazing CAO. Like, I can't get over how amazing he is. And Sebastien, like our urban planner, the staff in that building are just so great. I feel so confident that anything that I come up with will work, and I always ask for their feedback, and they're very open to that. So Eve's going to deal with the water, the wastewater. And then, for the natural part of it, like maintaining surface water, groundwater, trees, etc., I created the environmental committee, where our bylaw officer he wants to work on that. I asked the urban planner to be part of the committee too, and we have 2 committee members they've worked in the federal government and they're very familiar with this. And then I spoke to the South Nation Conservation, and I'd like them to help as well to come up with a very good, comprehensive environmental plan moving forward that will be good for this mandate and for 100 years from now. So we're going to be working on that for natural. And then for human, it's well-being and education. So that is kind of like a gray zone that I'm still working on. But I know one of the biggest things is having more French courses in Casselman, because there's nowhere you could go in Casselman right now to learn French. So I really want to establish something, and I'll be the first student, and, like homework help, and we'll figure that out. And then for health and well-being, looking at the health and well-being safety document that the counties put out, I read that, and I'm trying to integrate that as much as possible into my plans. So one thing they talk about is social prescriptions. So trying to get people out in the community, walking, enjoying the fresh air. So I am focused a lot on trying to establish social prescriptions in Casselman. How? I don't know. I just read it. It's a good idea and I'm going to run with it. Now we just have to figure out how. So that's something I really want to focus on. And it's interesting because I volunteer with the Red Cross. And then I got an email asking for volunteers to help with a pilot project happening in another community where they're trying to implement the social prescriptions. I'm like, what? Like, how am I thinking about this? And now I get this email and I'm like, could you work with us too? You know, but they haven't got back to me. But if I am picked to be on that committee or pilot project, I will very much take a lot of that information and apply it to Casselman too. So, so that's the human aspect. And then the social, sorry, just
that's
burped,
all right.
excuse me.
We're human.
That's all good. So the social aspect is getting people out in the community. And this is where I have to rein myself back because like I have so many ideas, you know, and I you know, people are just, they want to come out and they just don't know how. So I want to create kind of like a way where people could come up to us with their ideas and we just do it. So the structure of the committee is going to work where somebody will present something. They could work temporarily with the committee. We'll make it happen. Like a friend of mine said, Jen, we need a zombie walk in Casselman. I'm like, oh my God, that would be so cool. I think we need a zombie walk in Casselman. But first we have to make sure everybody wants a zombie walk. And if they do, then he will be able to come present that to the committee. And then the committee will make that happen. So I want to create an area where people could come forward with their ideas, knowing that we will make it happen. And so the committee will work on it, and then we'll have a council member and the CAO at the top of the committee looking, and the bylaw officer looking through the plans so that when it comes to council, it's all good to go. Mm-hmm. Rather than coming to council with an idea and then they have to work hard. They don't know how to make it happen. But this committee is going to be, all the staff are there with all the resources you need to give you the information you need to make this happen. And then if council approves it, we could just hit the ground running. And it's already approved by the CAO. So he could say, yeah, you know what? We have enough staff power to do this. So it's not putting too much work on staff either. It's helping to regulate how that's going to happen. But so socially, yeah, there's going to be a lot of things. And one thing I really want is a youth center in Casselman, like so bad. So, it'll be small at first, but as buildings get developed in Casselman, it'd be nice to have them integrate that on the floor of the building. And just a place for kids to come be. So there's going to be a youth committee. And these are ideas. I don't know if like politically I'm supposed to be telling you ideas, but I'm very open.
Yeah.
So I want to be as transparent as possible.
This is fine. No one's going to hold you like you made a promise. This is a conversation.
This isn't a promise. This is like a conversation. Yeah. And these are my ideas. And I always tell everybody, like, it's just an idea. Like, and you can tell me what you want.
Yeah. And you've said multiple times that these ideas only will come to fruition if the community wants them to.
Exactly. Yes. Okay. Thank you. So the youth center, we could have like counseling in there. We could, I guess it's a youth hub. I think there's some, I have to research them. There's 2 in Prescott Russell. But I also want pool tables and basketball and just a place where kids could hang out. So this youth group, that's where I was going. I would like the structure of it to be like, we have teachers from each of the school boards of the kids that represent the kids in Casselman. And then those schools have student councils. So have one student council student come and form this youth committee. So the student council and the teachers, so the student is like the council and the teachers is like the staff, come together, create ideas for what they want in Casselman, create a plan. And then, we have the bylaw officer here with Eve, we have the council, and they're all working with this plan to make it happen. And then once it's approved by them, they bring it to our council, we approve it, and then they take it to their school councils and they incorporate it in their schools. And this is how all the kids get to know what's happening in our community. So the kids are empowered. They have their own council. They're involved in politics, and they see how being part of a committee could impact their community. And then we create the best frigging leaders
Yeah.
for the future. It's just, isn't it beautiful?
Yes. I love it. I love it.
So this is my vision. And then, we have the same thing for the environment committee. And then we have the same thing for the age-friendly committee for the seniors. So Ontario has like a pilot project. I don't know if it's a pilot project. Sorry. It's a program where municipalities proclaim that we're going to be an age-friendly community. And by being that, you're committing to having an established group of seniors who look critically at our municipality for affordability, for accessibility, for social, for all these things. And they make sure that it's happening. So if it's not, then what they'll do is they'll pick some goals of what Casselman could do. See, and it's already integrated into the community structure where they take it directly to staff with a council member, and they figure it out, and then it's brought to council. So it ensures momentum and growth. So we'll have the seniors, if they want, the arms there. And then we have the culture arm where, I want somebody to give me $1 million. Please. Like, if you're rich, you have a lot of money, just give us $1 million. Because, I want to build a community, like a culture center for performing arts. So people could just be artistic and the ballet, or like not a full-size orchestra, but, arts in Casselman. And it's just, we never have enough money, and I don't believe in taxing people. I feel like Scrooge. I don't want to be like Scrooge. So we have to really work within our boundaries, but we don't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of budget cuts that we've had to make, and tonight is going to be our final budget cut. And it's really hard to make budget cuts, but it has to be done. And I want to live as frugally as possible for the next 4 years and get Casselman out of debt and really build a strong economical base so that we could move forward in the future, And we will. Like, I know we will. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to happen. But $1 million would be great. I don't know. We could do sponsorship programs, or, have a lot of fundraisers or campaigns that will ultimately come down to enriching our little society in Casselman, and being good role models.
Yeah, it's everything you're saying I've heard from many other people within the township and the community. And so I know you're not alone in this feeling. And I know there's a lot of people who really want to have it come to fruition.
Yeah.
And I think that what we're experiencing, like you said, with not only the recession, inflation, the cuts that are taking place because of decisions on the province level, municipalities are losing power in a lot of regards and losing resources in equally
being downloaded more
and being downloaded more responsibility.
Yeah.
And this is where it becomes even more important for leadership, like your own type of leadership, that brings people, the community together and says, we can do this. We need to do this.
We will do this. Like, there's no doubt we are going to do this, but we're not going to do it alone, because if there's one thing that keeps me awake at night, that stresses me out, it's inflation. And the concept that people are living kind of like on the brink between being middle class or being lower class. It's very much becoming the poor and the rich, and it freaks me out. It upsets me that people are struggling and struggling and struggling, and the rent keeps going up, and this keeps going up, and then there's no safety net for them. I really want to, the province is going to continue doing what they're doing, but I feel like I have to do as much as I can to make sure that people don't feel isolated or don't feel alone, and that they know that there's always somebody, there's always something. We're going to have peer support groups, parent support groups, Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics, and we need more
social services integrated,
in Casselman. Part of the safety and well-being plan is 211. So you call 211 and they have all the resources you need. They could hook you up with whatever resources you need. So the March of the Roses campaign will promote 211 services as well. And if there's anything that I could do more to offer training or anything, I will, But I think social services is hard because it doesn't give any municipalities income. It doesn't pay. It's something that takes your money, which is why people are very reluctant to give it. But I really want to give it to that. I want to invest in people because people are what makes the world work. And it doesn't make sense that you don't invest in people, but you invest in a corporation. Corporations grow and they get richer, but people are the spirit is what keeps things human. And I really want to invest in people as much as I could. I don't have the answer yet. I will have the answer, but it's going to come. That's going to grow. I feel that's going to be an organic thing. That's just going to grow. But if I could just inspire people to come out of their homes,
Yes.
if I could just inspire a sense of belonging and a sense of well-being in our community, I'm confident that people are going to lead the way to find those answers. I don't feel it's me to answer that. I think I just need to inspire people and protect people, comfort people, provide them with the net that they need. And then they're just going to figure it out because Casselman is a force to be reckoned with, and these people will figure it out. I know it. And then hopefully other counties and other municipalities will follow us.
I'm loving all
and then
this.
We're going to take over the world. No, I'm joking. Oh my gosh. But yeah.
I'm loving this because it's so true, absolutely fundamentally to its core true. When you invest in people, when you believe in them, miracles happen. And
yes.
As a leader holding that space, creating safety, creating acceptance, it's a recipe for beauty and for accomplishment and progress. And you guys are going to take over the world. You're going to become wonderful leaders within the township, within the county, within the province.
Yeah.
And all people have to do is agree, and then they will find the ways. Once you start to take something on as possible, it shapes everything that you see before you and what you can possibly do. Whereas you didn't see opportunities before, they will just be jumping out at you.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't force the issue. Like you just set an intention and things just always come back from that. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm setting my intention to the community, and I know that they're going to rise up and we are going to make something really great.
And how could they not resonate with that and want to be part of that,
Yeah. And a lot of people I spoke to, they do. And I know they do. It's just they need an outlet. They need a way. So I hope I could give that way. That's my job as the leader, is to provide that opportunity. And I know that they're just going to come, and it's just, we'll get things done.
It's going to be really neat to see how these play out over the years, because the youth board that you want to put, or the youth committee you want to put together, I know Russell Township, it has its own avenues for wanting to accomplish that as well. I want to lead that as well. I'm part of the Russell Agriculture Society, and they want to have their own little youth board.
Really? That's great.
Yep. So the idea of having kids from the different schools come together, creating, so when you're talking about social services, there's a group called Russell Rocks. They held a musical concert to raise money for the food bank.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And now they're going to be doing one, like a smaller acoustic unplugged version to raise money.
That.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
To raise money for underprivileged kids so they can have access to hot lunches. Because there's some kids within our community who are very unfortunate in their situation and not able to feed themselves appropriately. We want to make sure they have access to nutritious meals. So right now the program is funding I think 10 kids, and they want to expand it to 20 and then start to make it so it can go to different schools, and using that as a case study of look, we can do this. Our community can come together and provide in this way, and not only wanting to see if that can spread to other townships and municipalities within our county.
Yeah.
But eventually put together a very strong argument as this needs to be better funded.
Yes.
If not 100%, just some percent from the province. So that way this doesn't have to be something that is just surviving purely on the hopes and the dreams of the people who are taking part, but that as a society, we think, yes, this is important. We need to provide for our youth in this way. So that way we are also investing in our own future.
Exactly.
We are feeding our own future in this regards.
That's beautiful. I love that. And then it's like, you're doing this initiative, and like there's so many cool initiatives in every county. You know, like when I speak to the mayors, I want to take all their ideas and put it in Casselman. I know I can't, but you know, the way that you're saying it, it's like every county will come up with their own kind of recipe card, you know, like this recipe works. So then it's written, and like the process that you're doing is, it's an established thing. It's written on paper, and then you provide, because that's what I want to do. Like everything that I do, I want it to have a clear vision, a purpose, a mission, policies, procedure. I want it to be based on law and logic and emotion. And I want to have all those hats kind of put into it. And then I want it documented so that anybody could pick it up and just implement it, so that it's not just a one-time thing, and it builds momentum. So then, you know, when you do this, then I could just take your little recipe card and we just share recipes across the counties, right? Well, this worked for us. This is what I did. And then I'm like, that's great. I want to do it. And then we build momentum as a community. And then when we do go to the province, we say we want funding, you know, it'll be harder to deny that when there's so much buy-in across our counties, right? Then we go knock on Ottawa's door, be like, hey guys, look what we have, you know, and just expand.
Absolutely. And when it comes to the future, I know you say you focus a lot on the present, but what's been your shift in your day-to-day, your time? Like, do you also have another job, or is being mayor just your full 100% focus? That's your full focus right now.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, that's all I do. And there's more balance in my life now, because now I'm not driving to Ottawa every day, which is great. So it frees up time. And I said, you know, when I do this, I'm going to take the dogs out every day right after work. I still haven't done that. So I'm a horrible dog owner right now. So that's going to be my next step in my new routine of life. But yeah, no, this is all I dedicate my life to right now. And if I feel I could take on more in the future, I will. But right now, this is like a full-time job. You know, finding a vision, like just one vision, is a lot of work, you know, because it's a lot of perspectives and people and things that you have to take into consideration. And then there's so many layers of it that you have to, you know, is it going to grow through this layer? If you put this layer, is it going to work? So I'm trying really hard to find a good, solid vision that we could work on as a cohesive community, so that it does work, you know? So it's not just kind of grasping at straws, but it's just a solid vision. Yeah. I guess that would be our strategic plan, which is going to be happening this year. So, yeah.
And what was your friends and family's reactions when you won?
They were like so excited. They were more excited than me, I think, because I don't know. It's everything. I just kind of go along and I'm okay with whatever. But I was very happy. I think I was it wasn't shock. It's like surreal. It's just amazing. But you know, I've always set my mind to something and I just expect that it's going to happen, and it usually does. So I wasn't surprised. Is that weird to say?
No.
You know, I was not, because I knew I was going to win. I had no idea, you know, I had no idea, but it just felt right. You know, it felt like I really truly felt that when I put my name forward, it's what I needed to do. And I felt like it was going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a shock. It was, okay, good. Now let's go. You know, it was okay. I was ready to just go into, you know, like, let's go do this right now. So, but they were so happy. And, you know, my kids were happy. I loved it. He had his little Bart Simpson shirt in the picture, you know, just himself. And, my husband's very happy. He calls himself the first husband. That's a joke. But it's really strange because our marital roles have completely switched, right? Because when we had kids, you know, Dennis, he owns a business in Ottawa, and he's such an ethical man when it comes to work. He's never let money or greed or anything lead any of his decisions. Like, he's very down to earth. He's very for his staff. He believes in his staff. He loves what he does, and he just pours himself into it, And, as an owner, he still goes, he works at Subway, still wears his little apron every day. He wears his Subway shirt every day with his little hat. And, people are like, well, why don't you wear a suit? And he's like, why? Like, I have to work. So I love him. So we're very in line with the way that we both think. And, but when we started out, I'm the one giving birth and having to take care of the kids, which was really hard for me because it was so hard to stay at home. Maternity leave was like, I work with kids, but it's mind-numbing boringness at home. Just playing with blocks with a kid, like, oh my gosh, it fell out, and make it excited every time. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so over the blocks. But, so, I was, sorry.
I've seen it, because if you're not interacting with other people, and if you don't have other family members there, and it's just you and just the kid, then your brain starts to acclimatize to a child's mind, and so you start to realize that you have to kick everything back up into gear when you're around adults again. Right?
Yeah, I know, and there's no like mental stimulation, and I'm a person that always needs to be doing something. Like I'm always, and when I have nothing to do, I find something to do. I'm not a person who sits still. I sit still when I'm in not chaos, but when it's like really busy, that's where I feel calm, But being calm made me feel like I wanted to throw myself out the window. Like so hard. But, and that's what I had to put my mind to and focus on. And like, I did a lot. We did a lot of enriching things together, and it was a lot of fun. And, Dennis worked all the time because he's building his businesses. He's working like he was a workaholic, because he just threw himself in. And so I made the decision that, okay. And I told him, I said, this is what you're going to do for now. And this is what I'm going to do for now. And I took a job like at the school board, which is great, but I really wanted that job because I wanted the routine, because I originally took child and youth work. So originally I wanted to work in the social sector, working in group homes, working, in correctional services. I didn't know where I was going to go, but I know I wanted to work with the hardest to serve youth, and find the good in them and never give up on them. But doing that with kids is a lot, because when you're starting out, you're even in the school board, I had compassion fatigue, where it just leads to depression because you can't do enough to help, So I've had to learn through my job to balance that. And now I could, but I took the school board job because I knew that I need something stable, and routine, and, having summers off, the hours of the school board are just phenomenal. And the school board itself, I felt so taken care of by the school board. I know there's like a lot of union contract things, there's always more we could do to help, early childhood educators. Absolutely. But the school board as a whole, it was a beautiful place to work. So, but after a while, as the kids started getting older, I needed more of a challenge because they don't need me anymore as much. And it's really weird. It's really hard to let go. I'm on the cusp of, when those parents become those parents that never let go of their kids. I think it's at around 12 or 13 years old. You have to let go. So I'm trying really hard to just be like, yeah, it's all good. Go do this, or when they're in their rooms all the time. And I'm like, it's weird because I'm not going to do painting or crafts with them like I used to. It's just, it's a very different mindset that I have to get used to. So I had I went a little crazy last year, and I think my son's like, Mom, I think you're having a midlife crisis. And I'm like, oh my God, Phoenix, I think I am. I'm having a midlife crisis, when you're like, because it's just nothing's fulfilling anymore, and your kids are growing up, and you're like, well, where does that lead me? And that's why I'm like, I needed a challenge. And then the counselor thing just popped on my lap at that time, and then the mayor thing, and then I got this. It's just weird how it just all came together. But now I'm working constantly. I work night, I work in the morning, I work day, I work on the weekends. I just work because I really want to come up with something very comprehensive, very powerful and strong for Casselman that's really informed by the people. But before I do that, I need to know a lot of information. So I've been reading all the acts. I've been reading everything I could read. I've been reading like crazy. And, but now my husband, now that his company's like, strong, now he could step back. So now we've reversed roles. So now I'm working all the time and he's at home with the kids. So he's been like doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, driving the kids everywhere, making all the decisions. He's even the one who's like, yeah, you could do that. And I come home and I'm like, no, Jasper can't go do that. And he's like, yeah, and like, that was always me. Like, well, that's what the kids want. Now he's all about the kids. I'm all about work. And it's so weird. It's a big shift, as a mother, becoming more of a worker. I was a worker in the school board, but that was like advocacy and working, on the front lines. But this is like it takes a lot more energy, a lot of more thinking, and so it's just been very interesting, our little role reversal, and it's fun. I love it.
Yeah, I can see how there's that switch.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's wonderful that you take these challenges in life head on and see the opportunity that lies within them. Because it's a lot of growth. It's a lot of growth,
yeah. And, you have to be aware of the growth, and I think a lot of people, sometimes life gets hard because they don't see themselves where they are in their lives, in a big picture. They're just kind of fighting little things. So I tried to have a bigger perspective. But Phoenix, when he told me I had a midlife crisis, he changed everything for me because I thought I was going crazy because I was like, I didn't know what to do with myself anymore. It's a lot of free time when your kids don't need you anymore. So yeah. So
especially mental real estate when you're not always following it around and wondering, are they okay? Are they not choking on something?
Well, that's it. Yeah. And I make calendars all the time and every day we do something and, just I wanted to expose them to as much as I could in the world. So now they're just doing their own thing, exposing themselves to whatever they feel they need to be exposed to in the world. And, you try to guide them and not tell them where they need to go or who they need to be. And it's hard.
And what made Casselman become your home and you decide to stay here if it was such a contrast to everything you were used to before?
Well, when I went to Ottawa with Dennis, I was pregnant in Ottawa and we decided to come back to Casselman because I could never imagine, we were on Lees Avenue. I couldn't imagine letting Jasper as a little kid walk to the store by himself, right? I'd be so paranoid. But in Casselman, I know Casselman's such a beautiful, loving community. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody kind of looks out for everybody. So I felt secure letting my kid go to the store, because I felt like it's a community where we're all kind of in it together and we're watching each other, So it's so beautiful, that kind of aspect. So how can I not want to move back to that?
That's true. Casselman has like a wonderful river and the train station and the main road has wonderful shops and it's very walk friendly. I find there's a nice little density to the core and it just exudes safety. There's very little concern of even if your kid wants to go down a couple blocks to go hang out with some friends kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And one of the things I like about our county is that the streets are very walk friendly.
Yes.
Even though some of them don't have some type of partition or a sidewalk in a way that's because there's not as much car traffic on not the main arteries, obviously. It makes it easier to just walk and you see a neighbor or somebody in the community, they have a dog, you have a dog, and you just meet in the middle of the road and you just start talking or kids playing street hockey and stuff like that.
Right. It's beautiful. It's such a beautiful place to live here. Yeah. We're very fortunate to be here. Yeah. My neighbor, he walks by every day and he's like waving and I'm in the office. I love it. I love the close-knit communities. So.
And what are some of your concerns going forward or concerns you've heard from citizens when you were going around and talking to people?
Concerns in what sense?
So you talked a lot about your hopes and your plans and the opportunities that you see, but what are some of the pitfalls or worries of, like you talked about money a little bit as in not having enough money for some of the things you want to do within the township and your community. But when you were talking to people at the door, what were some of their main concerns, their worries? The water?
The water. And that's something that we're going to take head on. Absolutely. The water quality, the size of our lagoons, the ability to discharge the water, get rid of it so that we could develop. That's something that we're sitting on right now. We have like a lot of people who want to develop, but we don't necessarily have the infrastructure set up to meet those needs right now. But we will, because we have a plan. We're moving forward. I don't have the answers right now, obviously. We are working towards it. I found some studies, so we're investigating some of those studies. And then once we understand what we need, we'll be able to implement the plan to fix it and then continue with the growth. So that is really just a matter of time. I know some people also want a dog park in Casselman, and that's been challenging because Casselman's like an urban policy center, so we don't have a lot of free space. You know, our purpose is to densify, intensify, create complete communities, and we don't have a lot of green space. And the space that we do have is space that's for future development. So I'm wary to establish a dog park that will eventually interrupt how we could develop in a way that's more sustainable for the community. So that's something we're exploring right now. I think attracting businesses to Casselman is also important. I think revitalizing our downtown core is obviously a big priority. We have the CRCVC working on that, and I've spoken to the council member who's part of that and the president. And I feel like we have a pretty good understanding of what we could do to help Casselman, and we'll continue working on that. But, you know, we have our CIP. But first, we need to establish our strategic plan, work on our our official plan, then our zoning bylaws, and then with that, our CIP will come in. So I'm hoping in about 2 years, we'll be able to establish. So you're following my hands?
I am. It's fine.
You're following my hands on the table?
I talk like this all the time. It's my language. I'm part French Canadian, so speaking with my hands, yes.
Okay, so then we come up here, we're about 2 years in, and then we start establishing our CIP. So, you know, a lot of the things in Casselman is really just a matter of time. It's waiting, but having a good, strong, solid base today so that it makes sense to be established in the future. Mm-hmm. So, you know, businesses in Casselman will come. I think we're going to start focusing on that next year. But, you know, to have a downtown where when you walk downtown, you know, like in Ottawa or Quebec, just like little terraces, it's like you hear music coming out of the restaurant, or there's like a big door and it's always open, and like little pots for the dogs to drink water out of, you know? So I that's what I see downtown, you know, vibrant, people walking everywhere, like you said, walking their dogs, and just like, hey, how's it going? And then we have like our little community center for the youth, and they're just doing their thing, and we're just all there in center town with these little terraces, and we're just content, you know?
That's a wonderful vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think the challenge of Casselman really is just a matter of establishing that plan and making it come to fruition. You know, it's like we pay all these taxes, the taxes keep going up, and there's nothing to do. And it's true. Like, I completely agree, because that's one of the reasons that I wanted to be counselor, because I didn't understand why that was the way it was. And I was curious. So being counselor would have helped feed that curiosity, because, I mean, I don't understand how it works, but now I understand. The taxes keep going up because the municipalities keep getting downloaded more and more from the province, and we can't keep up with the financial demands. So we have to raise taxes to establish those services, right? And then there's never any money to invest in the people. There's like, we don't have like disposable income. We're the adults. We're not like teenagers with a side job with disposable income to do whatever we want, to enjoy, to go to the movies, to do all this fun stuff. We're the adults we're the working class adults with new kids, paying daycare bills, a new car, a mortgage, and we're strapped and we're stuck because we have all our bills. And that's where we're at. We're like working class adults. Mm-hmm. A municipality, that's what a municipality is, you know? And I guess as you go provincial, federal, it's more they have their challenges as well. So I've never been in those situations. So I don't know why, what they're going through. So like, it's like, it's not a judgment. I really don't know. But now I understand why taxes keep going up and nothing is happening. So my solution for that is really to have a community first initiative. And at the core of my vision, to always put the people in the center of it and inform every decision I make based on the people. So like, say if we want business, we want growth. Well, how could we do that in a way where people are involved, and how it could promote community, right? So if we want a building, well, why can't we integrate a community center at the bottom, So little things like that, I think, will make an impact in 4 years. Oh,
they definitely will.
Okay.
There's no way that they won't. There's no way that they won't.
So I hope that I could answer that need for Casselman. So those are the 3 things that come to mind: the water, the dog park, and there's nothing to do in Casselman. So I do have a plan for how we could help those issues.
Yeah. I'm just going to take a quick...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Because I want to be respectful of your deadline as well. You have stuff that you want to do.
I don't even know what time it is. I don't even know what day we are today.
Yeah.
I went to the CEO. I'm like, Eve, like, do you want to hear like these ideas before the weekend? And he's like, I'm like, wait, what day are we today? He's like, it's Tuesday. And I'm like, okay, we have 4 more days, 3 more days. And I'm like, I can't even count anymore. So I just left. Yeah. So what time is it?
We've only been talking for like an hour and a half, so not that. I'm used to the conversations going like to 2.5 hours.
Wow!
But I think it's just because you've shared so much. There's like such a density of rich information that I was really concerned that we were at like 3 hours or something like that.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
All right. It's not a thing where you're like, oh, sorry, time's up.
No,
I'm joking. I'm totally joking. Yeah. Like where it's like super long, and you're like, man, this is awful.
Well, this is exciting.
Yeah, it is.
I'm very grateful for this conversation.
Me too.
It's such an opportunity to not only learn about the other leaders in the different municipalities, but a lot of again, it's just not feeling crazy. All the things that you've been talking about and singing praises about and thinking about and sharing and planning. These are all things that constantly run around in my head and in the head of a lot of other people that I talk to. There just hasn't really been, I guess in my experience, a manner in which that all gets brought together in a way that's intuitive to me. I'm sure to other people it's already been done in some way, shape, or form. But I really want to bring the next level of communication when it comes to video, audio, online presence and stuff like that. And also in conjunction with real life events taking place, because I'm with you in that we need to get people out of their homes. We need to get people away from their screens. And like, sure, this is requiring people to be on their device and listening or watching. But the goal is that afterwards, they're then incentivized to go outside to events or to reach out and get initiatives going. So that way places can be built that they would want to spend more time in or have their kids be in and stuff like that. So absolutely on board 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it'll work out. And there's so many little things like geocaching in Casselman, get that going. And then there's a school board had this initiative called the Kindness Project where they painted rocks and hid them around Casselman. And when you found one, you took a picture. So, that's on my list, to see if they would continue that or if we can continue something like that. There's just a whole bunch of little things that we could do. Even Halloween, I want to pass out candies and be present in everything that we do in Casselman, to show leadership that we need to be involved in everything that we do and do it with a kind heart and good intentions. Because if we do that together, then it'll work, right? And to lower our defenses of, what we want and this is what I want. And when people feel that they're going to lose something or not gain something that they want, their defenses go up and then they become frustrated or angry. And I really want to put people at ease that I'm not here to change or to tell what to do. that I respect everybody individually. And I really want to find out how we could work within that mindset. But it's a shift, right? It's a shift of the way people think, that people are used to thinking, the way that you're used to behaving and reacting, trying to switch that around, So that kind of approach takes time to trickle within the society, or the community. So the best that I could do is to prove that with my staff and my council, and have as much integrity as I can, and know that I will make mistakes along the way, that I'm not perfect, but that I'm open to hearing the feedback and learning from it. So I'm always open. I have, you could email me, people could call me, because I want to engage with people, but I'm not going to engage with angry people who are attacking me, or, Facebook, cyberbullying on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's not okay to go on Facebook and start bashing council and staff, because if you don't have the whole picture, if you have misinformation, or if you have a portion of information or an assumption, and then you are insulting people based on that, it's not good for those people hearing those messages. Like, they're human beings. They have feelings, they have families, they have aspirations. They work full time, and they're doing their best with what they have. So, I'd really hope that Facebook and social media, this culture around it where it's okay to use it to hurt people's feelings. I'm just going to bring it down to kindergarten. I always bring it back down to that level, that it's not okay to hurt people's feelings, So I that's something I'd like to address too, is how we communicate together through social media in our town, and a process of which, if you feel frustrated or if there's something you want to change, you come to council meetings the first Tuesday of every month. We have a question period. If you want something, you propose it to us there. We're here to serve you, and to really take down the defense or the perception that we are here to impose what we want on you. It's not that. We're here to serve you. So you need to come to us with your ideas, and that I'm open to that. So obviously that will take time.
Mm-hmm. What's your question period like? Is it like a open, people walk into the town hall and they just pose the question? Is that at the end of a regular town hall meeting, or is it specifically just a Q&A session? It's
in the agenda. I don't know what number it is, but question period runs 15 minutes. And each person has 3 minutes. So to either, state what they're going to talk about, and then ask a question. And then we answer it. Well, I direct who's going to answer it. And then they could ask a sub-question. If council wants to continue the question period longer, then if somebody wants to talk longer than 3 minutes, we'll do a vote. We'll agree, disagree. And if we want to extend the 15 minutes, because there's so many people there who want to talk, then we'll do that, I was even wondering about the concept of having town hall meetings once, a couple times a year, where people just come and we just listen. I'm really looking at different avenues on ways that we could hear people, aside from my door-to-door campaign that I want to do every year. Is it surveys? Not everybody's on social media. There's a huge generational gap, in society right now, which I think is very difficult for leaders to reach out to everybody, because we have the baby boomers who don't do social media. And then we have I don't know what the new generation's called. They're not
millennials and Gen Z. So I'm a millennial, and younger than me is Gen Z. So
the Gen Zs, they're more social media than millennial, right? No?
So it goes boomers, then Gen X, then millennial, then Gen Z.
Okay. And it's interesting because I'm starting conflict management course today it opened up, and it's the generations, like how to manage conflict amongst the different generations. But anyways, that's a different thing. But right now it's like how to communicate with both sides and ensure that they're both represented, So that's a challenge. So is it mail outs? and social media. Door to door is always effective. But town hall meetings is good for the older generation because it's more face to face. It's more personal, and I think that's more in line with their values. So, yeah, still trying to figure out like a good way to communicate with people.
Yeah, I've often thought about the idea of how to get people more involved in local politics and government, in the democratic process, in a civil manner, for sure. The idea of like a rotating Q&A as an example of going to different locations, and this is the time for anybody to ask any question whatsoever, and have members of the staff there to answer the questions. And if they don't have an answer, then there'll be a follow-up of some sort. Then when I looked at the stats for the recent voting that took place for the municipal election, it was very surprising to me to see the numbers. Not only that, I think only 31.3% of our population voted. So of like 15,000 people, only like just under 5,000 people voted. Wow. And of that, I think there was only like less than 100 people between the ages of 18 to like 25 or something like that actually voted. I think there was only like 55 within like 18 to just under 20. But then when I look at the 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds, that's where like huge portion of them were the voters.
Well, it's kind of like they experienced, they saw like kind of the end of World War II. They saw what not having democracy was, and it affected them. They're not too far from the Depression and having that in their roots and remembering the hardships. And here we are not having experienced any of that. And, growing up, World War II and learning about wars was, I don't know, I just felt it was more impactful because it was our grandparents and the veterans would come into the gym. But now our kids don't have that. They don't have, because a lot of them are passing away, they don't see it. They don't see the concrete representation of what fighting for democracy is. And they take it not for granted. I don't want to say they're taking it for granted, but they're kind of taking it for granted. So they don't believe in voting because they haven't experienced what happens when you don't have those rights. And it's important to vote whether or not you believe in it's going to help you or not, but to exercise the right, like the action of exercising our rights is important.
And for me, it's been fascinating to talk about the different experiences of the generations when it comes to what the communities were like. The transition from before the internet, when the communities were really small and everybody knew everybody, and all the little social groups that and the civic groups that were taking place, and the volunteering that was taking place, and how that started to shift as people from the city started to come into the townships, and the demographics started to shift, and then the internet came into play, and now cell phone technology, and then those groups, the social groups, have gotten smaller. People knowing each other has gotten smaller. And so there's all these avenues that used to exist for people to engage and feel like, okay, well, I have ownership. I'm part of this township. I'm part of this community. I will do my duty. And also the context of post-World War situations. And now we have all these new unique challenges of there's ample opportunity for people to be in their phones, connecting to online communities. So how do we get them to connect with physical surrounding community and become invested, which is why I'm very excited for a lot of the initiatives that you've been talking about of trying to get youth involved and engaged and start to exercise that muscle and take part. I personally would really like to see it down the line, sooner than later, the ability for 16-year-olds and up be able to vote. So that way because they're in their community, they have the context, they know the people, and they get 1 or 2 years of being able to vote and seeing the influence before they go off to a whole different province, a city, a country, whatever it is for their continuing education or just traveling, where they feel more uprooted and they don't have that sense of ownership and connection and a feeling of buy-in as they would before. And just, school, new friends and everything like that can be very engaging. So it's one of many things that I want to see take place so that way people can feel a better sense of buy-in and understanding that they can make a difference. I think that was the biggest thing for me for a really long time because I was very transient. I didn't really have a sense of buy-in. I was always interested in politics and wanting to lean in and make a difference. But I just always had this, like, how am I going to convince somebody to vote for me when I don't even know I'm going to be here in a couple months or even a year or something like that? But now that I've come back to my township and I decided, okay, I'm going to set roots here. I'm going to invest and I'm going to lean into this.
Yeah.
Realizing that a lot of my anxiety and my sense of powerlessness or nihilism was really connected to me not being involved in local initiatives, where a lot of the media we consume is on big national levels, which is so far and so removed from that it's very easy to feel disconnected and powerless.
Yeah.
But then when I go and I join a local civic community or volunteer or just start an initiative like, I want this in my township. Who wants it too? Starting to really see like, oh, I can translate my thoughts, my dreams, my desires into a reality and not only shape my own community in a way that is beneficial for me, but more importantly, beneficial for others.
Yes.
And especially when other people with their own desire and will, like you said, if you build that space for them just contributing, and the thing that you thought was amazing becomes 10 times that, because when you bring other people on board and bring their different perspectives and their experiences and their skills,
it makes it more interesting.
It's far more than anything you can possibly imagine because you're just simply one mind.
Exactly. Yes. You're just one mind and you need people. You need people to make that idea better. Not a lot of people say that. It's nice to hear that from somebody.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like, it's, because I'm always like, challenge me. And they're like, people don't know what to say. I'm like, just challenge me. Like, just tell me something wrong about what I said. Like, don't agree with me. Just disagree. Make something up. And so I could like think differently, I have I have a paper in my office and it's like the 6 hats. I want to do more research. I just came across it. And, there's like logical, emotional, just 6 different perspectives. And so I put that there so that when I have an idea, I go through those little hats and I try to see my idea from all those different perspectives to challenge myself. If I could hire somebody, I'd just hire somebody to sit in my office and be like, well, I don't know, Jen. So I could be like, well, then what if we do this, to make me think differently. So yeah, working on the front lines is very important to me. It's where it's a place where you work without the need to become bigger or better or validate or anything. It's just organic and natural. That's what I love about it. And working as a mayor now is amazing because now I see how policy affects society and that I'm in this position where I could use that to really benefit people, which is why hearing people's voices and like you said, finding ways to connect with people now and open up communication effectively is very important to me, because that's the only way we could really establish a social policy or belief, or, because really a policy is somebody's idea, right? It's like, this is a cool thing to do. Like, let's make it legal, So I want to make those policies, which are actually people's visions, and integrate them into a policy that then become bylaw. So basically, people are governing their own town, which is what democracy truly is.
Yes.
So we just have to figure out communication first and then work towards that. And, just every day wake up and do whatever, just little steps that you can to slowly build up to that. And these conversations are amazing because it opens up the avenue where people could hear it and understand a different perspective of politics and leadership, and understand that they could get involved in that. You can have an idea come to fruition and see how it benefits people, like that lunch program. Mm-hmm. Like, I want one in Casselman now. Yes. I'm going to put that on my wall.
Yes.
It's going on the wall.
Well, that's the hope, is to spread the idea and have it that it's possible. Mm-hmm. They also want to do an initiative to a battle of the bands. So that way
Cool.
kids can get involved and they can have some adult musicians be mentors or support them in whatever they want to do. And that would raise money to feed back into artistic programs. So that way kids could afford or schools could afford music practice space or instruments or anything like that. And honestly, every single idea that I'm working on and coming across, it's first testing it in my township.
Yeah.
And then right away going to see how can this spread, what adjustments need to take place.
Yeah. We'll always come to Casselman, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because I want anybody's ideas. You know, the leadership in all the towns, like all the mayors, I want to know everything that they're doing, and because they're smart and they have all these ideas that I don't have. And I really want to integrate that into what I do as a mayor, and it's not, I just want to be equal to and learn from in order to grow. Basically, I think there's a more intelligent way of saying that. That sounds more that like based on something, but I really value the leadership in our counties, and I want to take the best out of all of that. And seeing you do something, it's beautiful, because then Embrun's obviously a place where citizens could come and have their ideas and grow them. And I hope I could instill something like that in Casselman as well.
I don't understand how it wouldn't be like it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's done. Like it's already happened in some alternate dimension.
Yeah.
We just haven't gotten there yet.
Playing catch up at this point.
Right? It's there. Yeah, no, definitely. So I'd very much like to be a community like here where, you could just start something so amazing like that and make it grow.
Mm-hmm.
Good job.
Thank
Good
you.
job, Derek.
Well, I'm just like you.
It's awesome.
I'm just a medium for other people and their ambition, and it's I just throw out the spark, but really it's them who brings the kindling, and then it's just fanning the flames at that point.
Right? Oh, that's a nice. I never saw that. It's a good way to visualize that.
Because it's the way your leadership style is 100% my style. The idea of I can't do anything without anybody else, and it's not going to be as amazing if it's just me.
Right. It'll be boring.
So many times I've had situations where I'm in conflict with somebody or something, and I come up with this amazing idea, or at least I think I have this amazing idea. And the more I hold on to that concept or that final vision, the more challenging it becomes.
Yeah.
But then when I allow the process of resolution, of trust building to play out in its natural way, what I come to with the other person is I could never have, like, I literally spent hours sitting down, when you take a break from something, like, I can't handle this.
Yeah.
Hours and hours and hours and hours. I'm like, this is the best concept. I've done research. I looked at books. I looked at podcasts. Right. Whatever it is, versus cooling off, coming back and saying, I know you have value and I want to respect that and give you dignity. So that way we can consensually come to an understanding. Yeah. And with just that simple recipe, produces something far greater than what I did on my own with hours and hours of labor.
Exactly. No, but those hours and hours of labor were necessary to bring it. But it's like when that cohesion happens, it's almost like you finally go into their mind and you see your plan through their eyes. And then you're like, well, crap, that's so cool. And then it's like, pow, 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 all these connections start being made on their own. It just takes a life of its own. So, and it's hard for people to do that because people always want to have stake in what happens and the outcome. And they want to have their ideas heard because it's almost like survival, right? It's kind of, it's in us. It's instinctual to want to not necessarily conquer, but to establish yourself, right?
Well, this is what I feel is one of your superpowers as a leader is the ability to not only to want to connect with somebody and see what they're seeing through their own eyes, like a deep empathy, but then to connect with those points in a way that allows them to feel like they are part of the whole.
Yes, because they are.
Yes.
Like we are all part of the whole. We just all need to see that, and do something about it.
This has been such an enriching conversation, and I know we can go for hours and hours and hours. I do want to have absolutely follow-ups.
For sure.
I want to help in providing a platform for anybody else you think should have the opportunity to record their thoughts and feelings and conversations and projects that they're working on, so that way we can distribute them to as many people as possible.
That's great.
I want to see as much collaboration take place as possible. And I think ultimately, I am just purely excited. I'm just purely excited to see what happens in the next 4 years for you and what you're doing.
Nail biter, right?
Yeah. It's like,
what's going to happen at the end of the movie? Yeah.
Because it's honestly such a wonderful opportunity. I've heard stories about in my township of leadership sometimes not being in it for the people and them being in it for the status or the power or the clout or whatever it may be, but that's really changed. And I can see people in my township reacting to that change of like, oh yeah, the leadership is very different now. And I'm very excited for Casselman to go through that transition as well of realizing, okay, we put somebody like you into a position of leadership. And that changes things in such a way that they won't ever want to turn back. And these little recipe cards that you're going to be creating in these little projects and initiatives and empowering people to move forward with their ideas and their dreams is, it's invigorating.
It is invigorating. I mean, it's the reason to get up every single morning, like, you know? Yeah, that's why 5 coffees are great. Just keeps you going. Bouncing off the walls, you know. Like when I walk in the office, I'm always so excited because I just love everything. And I'm like, I was reading that the constantly enthusiastic person is actually part of like workplace toxicity. So I even told some of the staff that. And I'm like, so when I walk in now, I'm going to be very calm, cool, and collected. And I'm going to be like, how's your day? You know, and just walk into my office like, you know, because usually I'm like, how you going? How you doing? Yeah. But that's me working in kindergarten too. I'm just always excited.
Oh, okay, so, yes, yeah.
But yeah, no, this is great. And I will definitely talk to people. And, you know, if people want to come here, I'll definitely support them in doing that because, you know, having multiple perspectives is so cool, you know? Yeah.
And I also want to help with upgrading the broadcast of the town hall meetings that you guys have in any way, shape, or form that I can help.
Yeah. So
that way the day-to-day experience of your township, of the democratic process is easier for people to gain access to. It's more informative. It's also easier for you guys if you want to go back and review it.
Yes, exactly. Well, I think we are going to do video meetings when we get into the new building. So I have no idea what the plan is for that, but I will definitely talk to them about that and be like, hey, I know somebody. So that would be awesome. You know, I really think it's important for people to be able to see these meetings, even live. You know, I love that concept. And, you know, education is also a big part of this because I don't think people truly understand what the purpose of council meetings are. I mean, I didn't know until I became a mayor. So that's, you know, that's how inexperienced I was. But like you learn so much so quickly to see how valuable and how important it is. I really want people to understand like the concept of question period, the concept of like resolutions and how to get us to do what you want us to do. Because that's why we're here. Like the council meetings aren't like things we've pre-decided and like we're telling you that this is what we're doing. It's based on what we know that people want. And it's my job to make sure that I get as much of that information as possible. So that's going to be my first step.
And if people want to reach out to you and share their thoughts and feelings and ideas, what's the best way to get?
Well, I have my email, glajoie@casselman.ca. And that's the best way. Email's the best because I don't answer the phone very much at night. I'm like one of those texters. I'll admit that. I'm a texter. People call and then I'm like, I'll just text them back after I don't answer. It's so bad. I know it's a bad thing, but I'll admit my shortcomings, and that's definitely one of them. So email's the best.
Yes.
Or face-to-face, like just popping in at the municipality. If I'm there, my door's always open, and you could always come into my office. Like, I love talking to people. Yeah.
I think your point about education is paramount.
Yes.
You know, if you don't record in an engaging manner or an accessible manner, your meetings, the process, then all people have is imagination and the reference that they see from the province or from the federal level. And that's,
or their personal assumptions and perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the intimidation that can come in into play with that.
Yes. And then they become defensive. Their heckles go up, and which is why they get frustrated and angry, you know?
Which is not what you want, which is you want people to feel like they can walk into town hall because it is a place that they are equal to everybody there. Yeah. They live there, they work there, they contribute, and their ideas are just as welcome as staff and as council members and as the mayor.
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as it's like not mean.
Yeah. Civil. Civil. Yes.
I cut that like that on purpose.
Yeah.
But
civil, yes.
It has to be based on a desire for change, you know, because arguing to me is counterproductive to anything, you know, and if people are frustrated, I'll want to work with them to help them see why they're frustrated and what we could do. Because I want to take I seriously want to take those barriers down. I want to take as many barriers down as possible. So
more power to you.
Yeah. Thanks.